Are you making some mistakes that inexperienced programmers oftentimes make? Are you struggling to keep up with the industry's high standards? What if I told you that by learning from these mistakes, you can actually become a top 1% developer? All I want is for you to become that top 1% developer. There have been times where my employers have not necessarily been really happy with my performance. The majority of the companies I used to work with oftentimes used to get the version of myself that was not necessarily optimal. I used to be that developer that used to think, you know what, whatever I do, as long as I show up to work, everything's gonna be fine. But that shit only takes you so far. The main reason why I got a job in development in the first place was to pay my bills. Next to the fact that I was pretty passionate about programming, but mainly it was to pay my debts. I'd spent the last year buying stupid shit I did not need, like a new coffee maker, a new blender, like literal stupid shit that I really didn't need. I was in debt for all of those things. I'm sure you can relate. All I wanted to do was get a job, become a developer, pay off my bills, and be debt free. But unfortunately, what happened was I started getting negative feedback from my employers. They really had a problem with the quality of software that I was delivering to them. So my personality back in the day was, you know what? I'll take that into consideration. So I started thinking, all I wanted to be was a developer to pay my bills. That's it. I never really thought about becoming a good developer. I never really pondered that in the first place. So one day, I get a call from my boss, the CEO of the company. They called me up and they asked me, they were like, Neil, listen, we're not happy with the results that you've been delivering so far, and we have to do something about it. I mean, I immediately got tense. I got scared because the last time I got a call like this, I got fired right away. So I was extremely grateful that they gave me another opportunity to reiterate on my skills. I knew we had to do something about it. I knew I had to do something about it. So I started introspecting on myself. I really had to boil down what was going wrong in my life such that I was producing shit code. So I've boiled down a few big mistakes that programmers make that make them appear inexperienced, all right? Because I know you and me, we can code shit. Like we can program shit to the moon. And sometimes even literally. Like my friend, he's coding some shit that's going to the moon. But anyways, I digress. The point is, I know you and me can make software. But there's a few things that people do that basically shatter that image of a good developer. Let's get started. So number one, a big sign that a developer is extremely inexperienced and does not know what he's doing is if he's lazy. Now what? This might sound a bit counterintuitive, but bear with me. I realized I just got up in the morning, fumbled my hair a bit, and I started coding. There's a famous quote that I resonate with extremely deeply, and that is, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And for me, the one thing that I was ignoring in my life was my health. I was an extremely lazy person, and that reflected in my software. Like every time there was a bug that I needed to fix, I always procrastinated and I waited until the end to fix it. The only way this started to get better for me was when I realized that I needed to get some physical activity done. So for me, my desire is to become a successful competitive man. And one of the ways I wanted to express this was in my physical health. But unfortunately, I had a very negative energy towards this. Like, I'd be so lazy all of the time. I wanted to go to the gym, but I never could do it. I was simply a lazy person. But I also realized that if I had a negative energy towards this, towards my physical health, one day this negative energy would have manifested in my code base. Think about it. Do you want a lazy person to be in charge of your code base? It wasn't until I consistently started going to the gym and consistently followed a regimented lifting schedule and a cardio schedule that I started to feel better in my own skin, and I started feeling fresh. My mind was less cloudy, less carb loaded, and I was able to produce decent software. Now I know this might sound counterintuitive, and the picture most people have about developers are lazy people behind their computers who have poor posture, who are typing away. But I want to break that. The real productive people out there consistently have a regimented schedule that includes physical activity. So yeah, that was number one. Do not be lazy. Inexperienced programmers are oftentimes extremely lazy. So the next thing that really hampered my progress and made me a shitty developer was the fact that I consistently sucked at communication. So there was this one feature we really needed to get out, right? And keep in mind, this was the first or second week of my employment with this particular company. So we had set out a deadline for the next week to ship out a particular form. I needed to create it, deploy it, and manually test it within that time frame. I had told them, like, I wanted to be all cocky and shit, and I told them that I was going to deliver on Saturday, that I was going to upload everything on Saturday. I wanted to show them that I was a hardworking individual. But what I didn't tell them was that on Friday I went out with my friends. I got up the next morning with a hangover. I was extremely tired from the night before. We had been engaging in cheap entertainment, instant gratification. And I completely forgot to message him. I completely forgot to do the work either on Saturday morning. So they were stressed. They called me. They were like, Neil, where the fuck is the website at? And I had to tell them that, oh shit, I forgot. I'll do it on Sunday. I'll do it on Monday. What do you think their impression of me was as a developer? Do you think that signals a developer that can take care of their infrastructure? Not at all. So that brings me to lack of communication, disrespecting people. If you cannot communicate with a person, you are in effect disrespecting them. We are not those developers anymore that don't communicate properly, that are greedy and selfish, that prefer to go out instead of working on a promise that they have promised, or instead of working on a task and completing that task that they have promised. We're not those people, right? We're people that are men of our words. We're people that promise shit and deliver on this shit. So anytime I see someone who does not deliver on what they promised, I realize that either A, they're new to the game, or they're extremely shitty at what they do. So if you've got yourself promising a task to your boss and not delivering on it, signs are that you're extremely underqualified for your position. So make sure you fix that shit. So that's point number 2, lack of communication, or in other words, lack of proper, decent expectation management. It's kind of like, if you're going to promise something to someone, you better deliver on your promise. Don't be the guy who breaks promises. All right? So the next point really ties into the previous point, and that is test your shit. Programmers who don't test their shit are oftentimes inexperienced and do not know what they're doing. I had to learn the hard way. I would ship out products or features so many times without really testing them manually, let alone automatically with an automated test suite. It was only after I realized that testing your code and introducing proper testing procedures like automated test suites, etc., and integration tests whatsoever, and proper QA procedures, that I'd been wasting so much time. This also ties into the laziness factor. I know so many developers out there who are extremely lazy, who do not want to do things that are not assigned to them. But what you don't realize is that your God-gifted ability of creating things out of thin air, developing software, comes with a price. You need to test your creations. You need to make sure that whatever you're making actually works. Now, I was the type of guy before to just code some shit, run it through a few basic edge cases, and Bob's your uncle, I shipped it to the public. Now that is a recipe for disaster. Do you know how many users I've caused trouble to from not testing my product? You need to avoid that shit. That's a number one top sign of an inexperienced bullshit developer. Someone who hates testing. Someone who doesn't test their shit. And finally, the last one, criticism, handling criticism. Now, I've spoken about times where I've shipped out terrible code. Now, what happens after your boss finds out you've shipped terrible code? What if your boss finds out that the reason why customers are complaining is because you did a shitty job as a developer? How are you going to handle that? Now, you can either get greedy, be fake. You can either be fake and listen to their feedback and then go behind their back and go to your girlfriend or your mom or whatever and complain about your boss. Oh, he's this, he's that. Toxic. Or you can be the type of guy that can journal. It is very important that you stay mindful and connected with yourself. Do not take things personally and do not take things to heart. We, in this very competitive environment, we need to fail and fail fast. All right? Whenever you realize you are falling behind, it is your imperative to get right back up. You need to work hard, get back up, stand back on your feet. It's very important that you do so. All right? Meditation helps out perfectly with this. Check out this video I made about meditating if you don't know how to meditate yet. Now, we're not those type of developers that get hurt. We don't have bitch egos. We don't have little bitch feelings. We take that criticism seriously and we do something about it. Developers who cannot take feedback properly are destined to be failures. AI is going to replace them first. Now the thing is, you need to be such a charming person. Like, the secret is only the charming, ambitious, serious developers who have system thinking abilities, which every developer should have, by the way. Those are the people and the developers who are not going to be replaced by AI. AI is going to come first to those lazy developers, those greedy people. You know what I'm talking about, right? The ones on Blind, TC or GTFO, those dipshits. So unless we take responsibility for ourselves, we're going to be screwed. But I know that deep down you have that drive, you have that ambition to become irreplaceable. We started coding for what reason? One of the reasons I started programming was because I realized I could create shit out of thin air. I don't know if you're religious or not, it doesn't matter, but the universe gave me powers to create software out of thin air. Software is the lifeblood of society today, and we have the power to control that. How powerful is that? Imagine being able to control what people do on their phones. If you're riding on a bus and you just take a look at the people and the way they're behaving, I guarantee you 99% of the people in the bus are on their phones, hooked. It is our duty to make sure that shit goes smoothly. It is our duty to make sure the future that we are going to bear our children in is run by software that is of a robust, ethical quality. Developers who only care about greed, those TC or GTFO guys, they're the reason why little girls and little boys today are suffering from mental health diseases. They're carb loaded up in big tech, trying to fucking make software that make people sad. If at all. Do you want to be that developer that doesn't work on important things? No. That developer that makes shitty products for society? Or do you want to be that developer that works on a vision? Do you want to be the best developer, that best engineer that you possibly can be? I'm sure you want to be the latter. Because you and me, we have a responsibility. With our power comes great responsibility. I know how cringy that sounds, but that is the truth. We can create products out of thin air. Okay, I'm rambling at this point, but you need to understand that we have a responsibility. I see a future where the software that is created in the next few years with the help of AI is orchestrated by developers like you and me today. Why? We understand the tech. We understand the infrastructure that is needed in order to create beautiful solutions. All right, take it easy. Life is a gift given by the gods, to make a proper use of it. I love you. Take care. Let's build some good shit. Bye.